afternoon once again, everyone. Welcome to our noon octopus presentation. My name's Roberta. I'm going to be walking back and forth in front of the cylinder a little bit for the next few minutes. I have what I think is some pretty cool information to share with you and some things to show you before we get around to attempting our octopus meeting. How many of you met a giant Pacific octopus before? A few folks. How many of you are fans of the giant Pacific octopus? Oh, yay. I hope that by the end of this little presentation, you will all be fans of our octopus. Before we meet our octopus, I'd like to introduce you to a very important person. Way up on top of the rocks is Kate. Kate is one of our outstanding volunteers at the aquarium. She helps us take care of the animals. And today, Kate is going to do her level best to wake up our octopus, to get her to move around, and hopefully to take some food. There's something really important you need to know about giant Pacific octopus. They are most active at night. They prefer to eat at night. So waking up our octopus at this time of the day and offering her food is a little like giving you dinner at 2 in the morning. You may or may not decide you're hungry. And it is entirely up to our octopus whether or not she decides to eat. Now, having said that, I'd like to introduce you to Switch. Switch is a giant Pacific octopus. She's female. She weighs about 20 pounds and she's somewhere between a year and a half old. Now, giant Pacific octopus live longer and grow larger than any other type of octopus that we know of in the world. However, when I say they live longer, that's a relative term. These animals have a 3 to 5 year lifespan. So Switch is already approaching middle age. They range from Japan up through Alaska and down the Pacific coast of the United States in those cold, temperate waters. In areas like Alaska, the outer coast of Washington, where there's lots of food for them to find and good clean water, they can top out at over 100 pounds. They also live right below our feet here at the Seattle Aquarium. Here in Puget Sound, we're surrounded by cars, people, industry, runoff. Our water quality's not quite as good. The food supplies are not quite as plentiful. Here, our local octopus usually mature at between 60 and 80 pounds. Now, you can help. Anything you do that improves the health of the ocean, from saving car trips to conserving energy to finding alternate forms of energy to reducing your use of plastics, all of that helps the ocean. And anything that helps the ocean helps our local octopus reach their full potential. Now, Switch has already done a lot of growing. I mean, even though she may not top out at 100 pounds, she has grown a lot since she hatched out of her egg. When giant Pacific octopus hatch, they are the size of a grain of rice. They're 1/8 of an inch long. They weigh a fraction of a gram. For the first few weeks of their lives, these animals are considered plankton. They float around up in the water column, eating other plankton until they get big enough and heavy enough to settle down on the bottom. That doesn't take too long. They can gain 1% of their body weight every single day, as long as they're getting sufficient food. Now, the first thing that Switch would have done when she got down to the bottom would have been to find a nice cozy den to live in. These animals prefer those tight, enclosed spaces. In fact, the more room you give them in these exhibits, the more they'll curl up in a corner somewhere. Switch might have built a very tiny front door to her den. You see, the only hard part of her body is a parrot-like beak in her mouth. Any opening that beak will fit through, the rest of her body will follow. So at 20 pounds, Switch can fit through an opening the size of one of those personal juice cans. A 90-pound octopus can fit through a 3-inch opening. They don't need a lot of space. They would have come out of their den at night, they would have gone looking for food, and their kind of home body, Switch would have brought her food back to her den to eat it. In fact, they're very tidy housekeepers. They throw all their leftovers out the front door. Who knows what an octopus likes to eat? Let me ask you this, what is your favorite seafood? Shrimp, yes, they eat shrimp. How about clams? Crab, yes, all of their favorites. So if you find a pile of crab shells, clam shells, mussel shells, bits and pieces, it's a pretty good indication that there is an octopus den nearby. Now, I don't want to do all the talking. Let's do a little audience participation. I bet you know more about octopus than you might think. How many arms or legs does an octopus have? Shout it out. 8. They have 8 arms. How about their eyes? How many eyes do they have? 2. And if you look at my puppet, or Switch, who's now over in the corner, you might notice that their legs or arms are located pretty close to their eyes. That's because if you were an octopus, all of your arms and legs would be coming out of your lips. Their legs are attached at the bottom of their head, around their mouth where that parrot-like beak is located. It works really well for them. They can parachute over the top of things they like to eat, pin their prey to the bottom, reach an arm up underneath and pull it up to their mouth. Now, if their head is up here where their eyes are and it's about the size of my fist, what do we call the big bulby sac that hangs down behind their eyes? What is that part? Do me a favor, put one hand on your collarbone and the other hand below your belly button. Everything between your 2 hands on your body is what can be found in the octopus's mantle. We have a stomach, so do they. We have lungs, they have gills. We have a heart. How many hearts does an octopus have? 3! Ever since that movie came out, people know the answer to that. But you might ask yourself why they need 3 hearts. It turns out their blood is copper-based rather than iron-based like ours. Copper doesn't transfer those oxygen molecules quite as well. Those arms are really muscular. They need a lot of oxygen. So they have an extra heart over the top of each gill that helps send that newly oxygenated blood out to those really powerful arms. Speaking of those arms, what do we call the round things under their arms? Suckers, suction cup, sucker discs, all correct. Those are really important to Switch. She walks on them the way we walk on our feet. She uses them like we use our fingers to manipulate things, and Switch is really good with those suckers. She can open screw-top jars. She can open child-proof pill bottles. She can even undo nuts and bolts with the suckers under her arms. Now that's even more remarkable when you consider that none of those things occur naturally in the octopus's world. That means Switch is smart. She can problem solve. She has long-term memory. Every time she repeats a solution to a problem, she can do it faster. We haven't done time trials with Switch. She's only been here with us a couple of weeks. But one of her recent predecessors was named Ink. The first time we gave Ink a peanut butter jar with food inside, it took him about an hour to figure out how to open the jar. His personal best time before he returned to the wild was 45 seconds. Not bad. Now those suckers are also another really important part of Switch. I want everybody to stick your tongue out at me. We taste with our tongues in our mouths. She tastes with her suckers. Think about that for a moment. Think about tasting everything you walked on and everything you touched today. Ew. Well, once again, it works well for her. She hunts at night in our dark, murky waters. Even though she has outstanding eyesight, she can find her food much more effectively by tasting for it as she crawls along the bottom. Now, speaking of tasting, Kate is going to drop a little juice from the food into the water. She's going to put some food on a stick, and she's going to lower that food down somewhere near Switch's suckers so that she can taste it. As we do that, I want you to notice a couple of things. Keep an eye on Switch's color and watch her texture. Switch can change both of those things in about a heartbeat. She has color cells called chromatophores all over her skin. She can expand and contract those color cells independently. She can turn a few chromatophores on in one area and put a dark blotch on her skin. She can turn a few off and put white fringes on the wrinkles in her skin. Now all of that helps her to camouflage, to blend in with her surroundings. Solid red, like she is now, is an active, alert, awake color, maybe even a hunting color. And when she goes fully asleep, all of those chromatophores relax and she turns very kind of grayish. Now, oh, there we go. She has grabbed the stick. Using those suckers, she's pulling it toward her mouth in between all of her legs. And she's good enough with those suckers, she can take the fish right off that stick. Now, remember I said octopus were smart. Smart animals like to play. And even though we have lots of things that we use to entertain Switch, occasionally she decides the feeding stick is less of a food delivery device and more of a toy. So our volunteers have standing orders. If Switch wants the stick, Switch gets the stick. We do not arm wrestle, we do not play tug of war. First of all, Switch can bench press 3 times her own body weight. We've done strength tests with them. Second of all, we don't want her to get poked with that stick if she yanks on it too hard. So we'll just wait till she lets go, maybe, and then put another piece of food on that for her. Now Switch will be with us probably another 6 months to a year. Octopus are terminal breeders. They only reproduce one time at the end of their life. As they mature, they go into a period that we call senescence. For the males, that senescent period will last between 6 and 10 months. At the end of that time, they simply die. Females, if they have made it successfully, will crawl into their dens. They'll lay between 20,000 and 100,000 of those rice-sized eggs. They will spend the next 4 to 10 months in their den tending their eggs. They won't eat again. They won't leave the den again. They aerate the eggs by blowing water over them. They use their suckers to keep parasites and algae from collecting on them. As the babies hatch, they blow those rice-sized tiny octopus out into open water, and then the female will die as well. So when Switch shows us that she is reaching that stage of her life, we will return her to the wild, to the same general area that she came from originally. She'll have an opportunity to find all of her own boyfriends out there, and hopefully contribute her genetic material to the octopus gene pool here in our local waters. She's got the second one, doesn't she? I tell you what, I would like to give everybody an opportunity to get up close and personal with Switch. I invite you up to the window, get a good look at her. If you have questions or you'd like to check out the artifacts, my name's Roberta. I'll be off to the side. Thank you for joining us today.